Now this list is a revision of the OR for the OR sound, which is an R-controlled vowel. We've got formal, normal, snorkel, platform, important, beforehand and coordinate. And it's also a revision of the long E sound, and we're using the EA in tease, please and decrease. Now I've got some other things to look at in these words. Words that usually end in AL quite commonly form adjectives, so formal and normal are adjectives. Now snorkel, you've got the EL at the end, which is different, so just be aware of that. And after a long vowel sound, we always only put a K for the K sound. Platform, nothing special in there. Important, before an M, a P or a B, we change the prefix in into im because it's easier to say. So the prefix should generally be in, but in this case we change it to an M before an M, a P and a B. Beforehand used to be two words, now we've joined them together and it's just one big long word. Same with coordinate, it used to be co with the dash ordinate, now we've taken away that little dash and we've just joined it into one whole word. You've got the E on the end making the previous vowel make its long sound too. So if you're breaking it up, you just need to be aware of those long and short vowel sounds. Now T's, sometimes we have the E after an S to make the S say its Z sound. So we've got that in T's and please. And S actually says Z more than it does S because of that ruling at the end of many words. Now decrease, we've actually got the S saying its sound here, and we've got an E on the end so that if we want to make it into, add the S to it, it's easier to do. So we've got the prefix D added here too, which is a long sound, so if you're splitting that, you would do it after that DE. Let's go back and look at what these words mean. So formal means using conventional etiquette. It's such as manners. It could be dressing suitably for something that is important, so an important occasion. Normal means that it's something every day, it's nothing special, it's just normal. A snorkel is apparatus that we can wear in the water to enable us to see clearly or see underwater and to be able to breathe underwater without having to continuously come up out of the water to breathe. So that hole in the snorkel has to be above the water for the air to be able to flow in there though, so you can't dive too deeply, and if you do you've got to swish, blow the water out before you can breathe again. A platform is a raised flat area on which people or things can stand. Important means something that's very important. We have to prioritise it. It's something essential. Beforehand means prior to now. Coordinate means to work together to do something. Tease is when we make fun of someone or provoke someone. Please is when we feel happy, or we can also use please when we're requesting for something and we're trying to do it politely. And a decrease means a lessening of something in quantity. Our words today have OR for the OR sound in formal, normal, snorkel, platform, important, beforehand and coordinate. And we've also got the long E sound with EA in tease, please and decrease. So let's go down. In this section you have to read and fill in the gap with a list word, so you can work your way through those. Then down here you've got to fill in the gaps with a list word to complete the common phrases. So these are little sayings that you quite often hear people using. You may need to discuss those within your group. Now down here we're going to circle the synonyms. Synonyms mean the words that mean the same, and cross the antonyms. Antonyms are words that mean the opposite. Now there's a common theme coming through in a lot of the books which you may have started to notice, and it's the prefix change rule. So with the prefix change rule, there aren't a lot of prefixes, but the prefix change rule tells us that we can change the last letter of the prefix to match the first letter of the root or base word to make it easier to say. So you see that, you saw that in the last list with occur. it should really be obcur, but because that's hard to say, we're allowed to change that B to a C, so it says occur. So in this list we're seeing it with in. If a word, a base word or root word starts with V, M or P, we know we're allowed to change the N to an M to make it easier to say. So it's hard to say imbalance or immobile or important, so we change that N to an M and it's easier to say imbalance, immobile or important. In this list we've got the OR sound OR, formal, normal, snorkel, platform, important, beforehand and coordinate, and we've got the long E sound with the EA, tease, please and decrease. So these two, please note that the SE is making it sound, but in this one it's saying S. Okay, in the first section here you have to change the missing list word into an adverb, so that means that you've got to find which word best fits that sentence from the list above, and if you add ly to the end of it, it will form an adverb. So in this table of verb families, where we've got the base word, adding the S, adding the ing, and adding the ed, we've got quite a few rules coming through. So if a word ends in L, and even though it's more than one syllable, we quite frequently double the L. So it will be snorkels with one L, but snorkeling and snorkeled with the double L in both of those. Another rule comes in here. When we have words ending in E, like decrease and please, and coordinate, we know the E goes away when we add the ing. And if the base word ends in an E, then when we need to add the D or the S, we simply add the D or the S. We don't have to add another E as well. Now, comparators and superlatives, of course, form adjectives. And so we've got important, formal and normal. Now, normally we would add ER to a base word to make it mean more or to form a comparative, and we'd add EST to the end of the word to make it into a superlative, to make it mean the most. But there are some words that you can't do that. It would sound weird if you said importanter, that is importanter, and that is the importantest. It's hard to even say it. So we know that sounds wrong and it is wrong. So with these words we actually have to use more and most, not the suffixes and s. So we're going to say more important, most important, more formal, the most formal, etc. Now down here you have to change a list word into a noun. Now when we add er to the end of a word, it generally means someone who. So but we know also that if a word ends in T, we may have to add OR rather than ER to the end of that word. So we've got coordinator, snorkeler, teaser. So just think about that as you're writing them, that T may be an OR, like doctor and actor. Using a sentence, you've got to create the word and then work out what its structure is, its form is, and write a sentence using it correctly in the sentence. So you've got 2 words to do there. Today we're looking at types of sentences. So we have a simple, a compound and a complex sentence. So what's a compound sentence? Well, a compound sentence is when we have 2 independent clauses and we join them together with a coordinating conjunction. So what's a coordinating conjunction? They're words that we use to join 2 independent clauses. So 2 sentences really that could stand on their own, but we're joining them together to make one sentence. So the joining words that we would use for those would be for, and, nor, but, or, yet. So, and if you remember the word fanboys, that will help you to remember those coordinating conjunctions. Now, a simple sentence, of course, is just where you have the subject, then the predicate, and then the object. So, we like to something above the reef. We like to snorkel above a reef is a simple sentence. It has a subject, it has a predicate, what you're doing, and it has the object of the subject. Okay, in a complex sentence, we're going to join an independent clause to a dependent clause. So an independent clause is the part of the sentence that can stand on its own, but a dependent clause can't be used as a sentence on its own. It's got to join to an independent clause. And for a subordinating conjunction there's a multitude of words that you could use. So you'll find that when you get down to here, there are a number of different words that you could use in any of your complex sentences. So what you have to do is fill in the gaps with a list word or extension. So think carefully about that. We like to snorkel above the reef. You're just using the list word, but sometimes you may have an extension on the end of it. And then you've got to identify the types of sentences. So we've put a little code or a little key in here for you. If it's a simple sentence, you're just writing an S. If it's a compound sentence, so it has two independent clauses joined together with one of the fanboy coordinating conjunctions, that's compound, you're going to put CP. And if it's a complex sentence, you're going to put CX. And that's where you've got a complete sentence joined to a part of a dependent clause which isn't a full sentence, and you're using a subordinating conjunction to join the two parts together. Now at the end, don't forget this is very important, and you may even choose to do this first of all. Go through and highlight the independent clauses in blue and the dependent clauses in yellow. That would help you really decide on whether it's a simple, a compound or complex sentence.